October 22nd, 2025. The air in Philadelphia carried that crisp autumn bite, the kind that makes football feel heavier, more serious, more personal. The Eagles Stadium shimmered under a fading orange sky, leaves swirling around the stands as fans in green and white filled every seat. Everyone knew this game mattered. The Giants were coming in desperate, and the Eagles were trying to prove they still ruled the division. For weeks the talk had been about the Eagles' Tush Push. Analysts, players, and fans debated it like a national issue. Was it fair? Was it unstoppable? The play that once defined Philly's dominance had suddenly turned into their biggest question mark. The Giants had spent the entire week scheming to stop it. They promised that this time, Jalen Hurts wouldn't just get shoved forward for first downs. He'd get stopped, hit, and humbled. The opening whistle blew, and the stadium roared. The first few drives were cautious. Hurts looked sharp, steady, spreading passes across the middle, but the Giants' defense had come ready. They stuffed early runs, they clogged the line, and every time Hurts stepped under center for that famous push, you could feel the tension rise. Cameras caught Giants defenders smirking before the snap, yelling across the line, "Not this time." And then it happened. Second quarter, 3rd and 1. The crowd knew what was coming. Hurts crouched low, the offensive line tightened, and the entire stadium inhaled. The snap came, and for the first time in months, the tush push failed. The Giants had exploded through the gap, pushing Hurts backward, the whistle shrieking as the Eagles' sideline froze. For a moment, Philadelphia's confidence cracked. The crowd gasped, stunned that the unstoppable had been stopped. But then something strange happened. Instead of shaking them, that failure lit a fuse. Hurts stood up slowly, looked at his linemen, nodded once, and jogged back to the huddle. From that point on, the Eagles turned angry. They played with the kind of controlled rage that only great teams find when their pride gets challenged. 2 plays later, Hurts dropped back, saw pressure, and fired deep down the right sideline. A perfect strike to A.J. Brown for a 40-yard touchdown. The stadium erupted. The Giants' defense looked at each other, almost in disbelief. For all the planning, for all the talk, one mistake, and they were chasing again. By halftime, the score was 21-10. The Eagles had found their rhythm. Their offensive line was mauling people. DeAndre Swift was cutting through gaps like the turf belonged to him. And Jalen Hurts, the man everyone doubted after one failed push, looked calm, surgical, in control. But the real chaos came in the third quarter. The Giants had a drive going, finally. Their quarterback hit 2 big throws. The crowd of blue jersey fans in the corner of the stadium actually started to believe. Then came the flag. A late hit on the quarterback that barely looked like contact. The crowd booed, but not because it hurt Philly. The call was on the Giants. 15 yards back. Momentum gone. The Giants' head coach screamed from the sideline, waving his headset, shouting at the officials. The cameras caught it all. The disbelief, the anger, the feeling that the refs were tightening the game for good. On the next play, a false start. The next after that, a sack. The Giants punted, heads down, and the crowd knew it. The moment had swung. What followed was pure Eagles dominance. Hurts led an 11-play drive that drained nearly 8 minutes off the clock. It wasn't flashy, it was methodical. Every snap, every motion, every block looked like vengeance. They even went back to the tush push, this time at the goal line. Everyone knew it was coming. The Giants loaded the box again, 9 men up front. The snap came, the linemen surged, and this time Hurts disappeared under a pile of bodies, only to emerge with the ball across the line. Touchdown, Philadelphia. The stadium shook. Fans screamed not just in celebration, but in release. That one failed push earlier? It was a ghost now. The nightmare had flipped. The Giants were the ones trapped in it. By the fourth quarter, the game felt over, but the drama wasn't. The refs made another controversial call, a missed pass interference penalty that should have gone the Giants' way. Even commentators in the booth were confused. "That's got to be a flag," one said. "You can't just let that go." But the flag never came. The play stood. And as the Giants' sideline erupted in fury, the Eagles lined up again, unfazed, executing another crisp drive. At one point, cameras showed the Giants' general manager watching from the suite, phone in hand, shaking his head. The trade deadline clock was ticking, 12 days left, and the implication was clear. Something had to change. The team wasn't just losing, it was unraveling. Meanwhile, Hurts looked like a man possessed. Every drop back was cleaner, every read sharper. His chemistry with A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith was effortless. He threw another touchdown, then another. 4 in total. By the time the scoreboard hit 38-20, fans had stopped biting their nails and started singing. The commentators said it best, when you poke a champion, you'd better be ready for what comes next. The Giants had come to expose the Eagles, to stop their signature play, and in doing so, they had woken up a sleeping giant. But the night wasn't done twisting. With 3 minutes left, Hurts took a hard hit on another short yardage play. He got up slowly, limped for a moment, then waved off the trainers. The crowd went silent. For a second, it looked like the nightmare might come back, not for the Giants, but for Philly. Hurts stayed in, handed the ball off twice, and the clock ran out. Victory, but at a cost. After the whistle, players from both sides met at midfield. Cameras caught the exhaustion in their faces, the respect, the rivalry still burning. Hurts smiled, hugged his lineman, and walked off without a word. Later, when reporters asked him about the failed tush push earlier, he just said, "You learn more from 1 yard you lose than 100 that you gain." In the locker room, the mood was electric but grounded. Coaches reminded everyone that the season was long, that the job wasn't done. Yet behind those words, everyone knew what the night had meant. The Eagles had reasserted themselves. The play that once symbolized their dominance, the tush push, had nearly betrayed them, then redeemed them in the same game. It was poetic, brutal, and perfect for Philly football. Across the stadium, the Giants' locker room was a mirror image. Silent, tense, and filled with questions. Reporters hovered around the coach, asking about the officiating, the penalties, the blown chances. He didn't take the bait. "You can blame refs all you want," he said. "But we didn't execute. We had them early and we let go." Still, the frustration lingered. Fans online were furious. Hashtags trended accusing the refs of bias. Clips of the missed call and the questionable flag replayed over and over on social media. Some Giants players even liked posts hinting at unfair officiating before deleting them minutes later. The drama off the field was almost as fiery as the game itself. Meanwhile, sports shows the next morning crowned Hurts once again. MVP-level poise, one analyst said. Another argued that the Eagles had just sent a message to the entire league. The dynasty isn't over. You can question the play, but you can't question the man running it. For Jalen Hurts, that night was more than a stat line. It was a reminder that pressure doesn't define champions. Response does. His early failure could have unraveled him. Instead, it became fuel. Every throw afterward carried defiance. Every first down was a statement. As for the Giants, the loss left scars. Rumors began swirling about trades, locker room changes, maybe even coaching shifts. The general manager, who had watched from the suite, reportedly spent the next day on the phone for hours. The team's season, once full of promise, suddenly felt fragile. And that's the beauty and cruelty of football. One game can change everything. A single yard, a single whistle, a single moment of hesitation can flip the season on its head. The Eagles proved that night that greatness isn't about perfection. It's about resilience. About staring down doubt, noise, controversy, and still marching forward. When the stadium lights dimmed and the cameras shut off, the field lay empty, littered with confetti and torn wrist tape. Somewhere in that silence, the echo of the crowd still lingered. Philly had their win. The Giants had their lesson. And the rest of the league had their warning. In the end, the tush push nightmare wasn't a failure at all. It was a wake-up call. The Eagles learned that even their strongest weapon could falter. But they also proved that champions don't collapse when challenged. They evolve. Weeks later, fans would still talk about that moment. The failed push, the angry coach, the missed flag. Some would say it was luck, others that it was destiny. But deep down, everyone who watched knew they'd seen something bigger than a football game. They'd seen belief tested, pride questioned, and redemption earned. Football has a way of exposing truth. You can't hide behind excuses or hype when the whistle blows. The field shows who you are. On that October night in Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts and the Eagles showed the world exactly that. They stumbled, they got pushed back, and then they rose, harder, faster, and stronger. As the credits roll in your mind, the slow fade of the lights, the echo of helmets clashing, the crowd chanting, you're left with one final thought. Sometimes the nightmare you fear is the moment that makes you legendary.